Our top focus remains the winter session of Parliament, and the suspension of 12 MPs from Parliament from the Rajya Sabha has become the biggest flashpoint currently between the centre and the opposition. After being suspended from the Rajya Sabha over unruly behaviour, 12 opposition MPs will be staging a Dharna outside Parliament today. Leader of opposition Mallikarjun Kharge wrote a letter to the Rajya Sabha chairman Venkaiah Naidu on behalf of the suspended MPs, appealing to reconsider the decision and the order. Now, Kharge in his letter called the move an unprecedented and excessive action and said that MPs should be given a chance to present their own case. He also added that the suspension order must be revoked in the larger interest of Parliament. Earlier, Rajya Sabha Chair Venkaiah Naidu had rejected the opposition's demand to revoke the suspension order and said that there will be a rethink only if the MPs apologise and express remorse. Opposition MPs are defiant. They've refused to apologise. They've called the move undemocratic and the death of democracy. The opposition has already threatened the government to boycott the entire winter session if the suspension isn't revoked.
I wish to raise a very important procedural issue relating to suspension of...
I heard you.
No,
I understood what you want. No, you can't make a statement. You can't make a statement. You cannot make a statement.
However,
I understood. No, I heard you. I heard you.
It's an eyeball-to-eyeball confrontation. The opposition is angry, inside and outside the parliament. The issue, the suspension of 12 MPs from Parliament cutting across opposition ranks. The reason for creating ruckus and desecrating the temple of democracy, the Parliament. The catch, strangely, the suspension comes in the winter session for what happened in the monsoon session. The government's take, the suspension will set an example for those who insult democracy. While the opposition post a 10 a.m. huddle on Tuesday demanded that the government revoke the suspension without any conditions, the government indicated suspension could be reconsidered if an apology was rendered.
Let me clearly clarify it.
कई बार हमने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि भाई माननीय सदस्य माफी मांग लें और आगे की कार्रवाई अच्छी तरीके से चले उसके लिए तैयार हो जाए, लेकिन दुर्भाग्य से माननीय सदस्य इस बात के लिए तैयार नहीं है.
The second day of the winter session boomed in protest to take back suspensions of 12 MPs over their conduct in the monsoon session. Responding to the opposition charge, Venkaiah Naidu reminded the opposition as to what went down on the 11th August 2020.
The suspension of any member, there are two parameters which have to be adhered to. Firstly, the naming of the members by a chairman is required prior to their suspension. Only thereafter, the motion of suspension of members so named can be moved. In the present case, none of the 12 members had been named on that particular day, bringing forward a motion to suspend the members months after the day of occurrence of alleged disorderly conduct is not in order.
Right, sir. These people on 10th August go through the proceedings of the House. The deputy chairman made appeal number of times. Sometimes even took the names also. Later also it was in the bulletin also it was published about the people who are engaged in this act. You try to mislead the House, you disturbed the House, you ransacked the table, and you also throw the papers on the chair, and also you have got, some of them have gone down to the table, and then you are giving me lessons. You are giving me lessons.
What resulted was a walkout of the opposition from both houses on Tuesday and congregating at the Gandhi statue outside Parliament. The Congress, the NCP, the DMK, the Samajwadi Party, left parties, RJD and the Aam Aadmi Party spoke in one voice. take back the suspensions. And the suspended MPs took to a placard protest in the Parliament compound. Along with that they didn't do anything wrong, one of the main contentions of the suspended MPs is that how can the government take action in the winter session on what transpired during the monsoon session. To take you back to that day that stunned the nation as the Parliament was in pandemonium, and the day that reduced Rajya Sabha Speaker, Vice President Venkaiah Naidu, to tears.
Last night, I struggled to find out the provocation or reason for forcing this August House to hit such a low yesterday. A discussion on agriculture problems and solutions was listed. There can be difference of opinion and there can be a specific demand from anybody.
11th August 2020. The debate was taking place on the insurance bill. The opposition got agitated. A book was flung on the chair. Some MPs climbed tables. The visuals that the country saw were shameful. At the back of the CCTV visuals and an investigation, the government says an example needs to be made of these 12 MPs who insulted the Parliament, even if the punishment has come 3 months, 18 days late. As per the government's charge sheet, MPs manhandled the Parliament staff, tore papers, recorded videos, assaulted lady marshals. While the suspension has now united the opposition, there are some parties wanting a complete boycott of the winter session. While the Congress feels boycott will mean advantage government. As the opposition formulates a new strategy, one thing is for sure. This Parliament session is building into a massive winter storm. Bureau Report, India Today.
And the chairman of the House of the Rajya Sabha is empowered. 256, 259, 266.
The other big political story of the day is Mamata Banerjee's visit to Mumbai. It's her second day in the city, where Mamata is, of course, pitching her Mission 2024 plan to Maharashtra's biggest leaders. The West Bengal Chief Minister is all set to meet with NCP Chief Sharad Pawar today. The meeting with the NCP Chief is being seen as an attempt to form an anti-BJP coalition free of the Congress ahead of the 2024 Lok Sabha polls. Earlier in November, Mamata had skipped a meeting with Sonia Gandhi in the national capital. On Tuesday, Mamata met with Aditya Thackeray and Sera MP Sanjay Raut after a scheduled meet with Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray was cancelled due to his ill health. Now, the TMC chief also paid a visit to the Siddhivinayak temple and offered prayers, as you see there on your screens. The Bengal Chief Minister is also expected to meet top industrialists during her visit to attract investments and extend an invite for the Bengal Global Business Summit.
थैंक यू सर. हाँ जरूर मिलेंगे. शाहरुख मुंबई आएंगे और उद्धव जी शाहरुख जी के घर में नहीं जाएंगे, ये तो ठीक नहीं है. हम तो उद्धव जी के घर में ही जाने चाहते थे, लेकिन अभी मना है डॉक्टर का, इसी के लिए आदित्य आ रहा है. और महाराष्ट्र गवर्नमेंट का आभारी हो, उद्धव जी भी अच्छा हो जाए. मैं इसके लिए प्रे करने के लिए, सबके लिए प्रे करने के लिए, आशीर्वाद लेने के लिए मैं आई थी. मेरे को बहुत अच्छा लगा.
The new COVID variant Omicron is unfortunately spreading fast across several countries. The lower house of the Parliament, Lok Sabha, is likely to discuss this crucial issue today. The mutated variant of COVID-19 will be discussed in Lok Sabha under Rule number 193. This discussion doesn't involve a formal motion before the House, but you'll have Union Health Minister Mansukh Mandavia likely discussing the mutated variant and the measures being taken by the government to prevent a transmission of Omicron. Remember, there are no cases of it yet in India. The discussion is likely to take place at around 2 in the afternoon in the Lok Sabha. In the wake of Omicron, the Maharashtra and Delhi governments have asked the central government to ban flights from South Africa and from other concerned hotspot countries. The centre has already directed all states and union territories to screen and test international passengers rigorously. More than 19 countries have reported cases of Omicron so far. So far, no cases have been reported in India.
We shouldn't need another wake-up call we should all be wide awake to the threat of this virus. But Omicron's very emergence is another reminder that although many of us might think we're done with COVID-19, it's not done with us. We're living through a cycle of panic and neglect. Hard-won gains could vanish in an instant. Our most immediate task, therefore, is to end this pandemic.
The World Health Organization has warned that the Omicron coronavirus variant poses a high risk of infection surges across the world. This variant could lead to severe consequences in some parts because it could trigger another COVID wave. At least 19 countries so far have registered Omicron cases. And we get to now a ground report from South Africa, where the first case of the Omicron variant was detected.
Omicron has spooked the world. The super mutant is spreading fast. At least 19 countries have registered Omicron cases. The fast spread of the virus has prompted many nations to shut their borders to visitors from high-risk countries, including South Africa. Omicron, a coronavirus variant with around 50 mutations, was first found in Gauteng province of South Africa. Today, the city of Tshwane in Gauteng, just 85 kilometers away from the South African capital city of Johannesburg, accounts for more than half of the country's infections. India today visited Johannesburg to get the real picture on the ground.
This is OR Tambo International Airport, and as we can see, well, there's not many people that are leaving at this very moment, as a lot of them were of course departing, you know, on Saturday and Sunday. But this is just a drive-through through the airport here at OR Tambo, and it's quite clear that sooner or later we are going to be seeing more people, of course, leaving to go home after the Omicron variant was discovered here in South Africa.
While a sense of normalcy still persists on the streets, there is an underlying fear of the situation getting worse.
This is Voortrekker Street, one of the main economic streets here of this part of Johannesburg, and it's quite clear that it is very busy at this moment. But what a lot of people are going to be worried about and questioning is whether this will change, whether this will be very quiet, whether this will be less than what we see right now, when if the COVID-19 cases continues to rise.
The Omicron surge is a big concern for the migrant population, away from home in search of a better standard of living.
जब से कोविड का अनाउंस हुआ है, जब से बिजनेस डाउन से डाउन होता जा रहा है और बिजनेस में कोई इम्प्रूवमेंट नहीं है, कस्टमर स्केर्ड हैं और यहाँ हम सरवाइव नहीं कर पा रहे हैं। अब हम ये सोच रहे हैं अब हमें क्या करना है, किस तरीके से हम अपनी फैमिली को सरवाइव करेंगे। लॉट ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स हैं यहाँ पर।
South Africa witnessed panic buying when the last lockdown hit the country. Now supermarkets have restocked in case President Cyril Ramaphosa announces another lockdown.
The people might come more and buy some more fruit and veg to boost their immune system. We'll have to wait and see what happens. That did happen in the other times. The people came and they did a bit of buying extra. People aren't panic buying anymore and that type of thing. But let's see. It should affect it, but not really anymore.
I'm standing here at Netcare Lakeview Hospital here in the eastern part of Johannesburg. The hospital has said off the record that they are very prepared for the Omicron variant, which is going to start taking effect in the next few weeks. So the question we have to ask ourselves is, is government, are the private hospitals like this over here prepared for the variant, and are they ready to go ahead and deal with the influx of patients that are going to come? Well, that's all we have for you here. My name is Sharad Pawar. I'm reporting from Johannesburg, South Africa for India Today.
2 days after the Farm Laws Repeal Bill was passed in both houses of Parliament, the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, which is an umbrella body of over 40 farmer unions, will be holding a crucial meeting to chalk out their future course of action. Now, the agenda of the meeting will be a decision on their 15-month-long agitation and also now their demand for minimum support price. Apart from this, the centre has asked farmers to name 5 representatives from this group, from the Samyukt Kisan Morcha, to discuss the contentious MSP issue. India Today has learnt that the Farmers Union will finalise on the names in their December 4th meeting. The Indian Premier League retentions for the existing 8 teams have been completed, with MS Dhoni, Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli, all the big-ticket players, retained by their respective teams. But there were a few more named who joined the list of retained players, and there were some prominent names who missed the cut.
Some expected names and some surprises. The 8 existing IPL teams have announced their retained players for the next 3 seasons. Prominent names like Hardik Pandya, Rashid Khan, Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul are among those who don't feature on the list of retained players by their respective franchisees. A franchisee was allowed to retain a maximum of 4 players, 3 Indians and 1 foreign, or 2 Indians and 2 foreign players. Mumbai Indians have retained their core group with captain Rohit Sharma as their first choice. Jasprit Bumrah, Kieron Pollard and Suryakumar Yadav are the other 3 players on their list. Mumbai have gone full throttle to get 42 crores deducted from their total purse of 90 crores, which means they will now have just 48 crores to spend from at the auction, where they can pick the rest of their squad. Chennai Super Kings, as expected, have retained MS Dhoni, who will again lead the team in the next season. Ravindra Jadeja, young Ruturaj Gaikwad, the top run scorer last season, and Moin Ali are the other 3 players. The surprise though is that Dhoni is not the first on that list. Jadeja is the first retained player for CSK, which means he will fetch 16 crores ahead of MS Dhoni, whose salary is now listed at 12 crores. Delhi Capitals have chosen to let go of Shreyas Iyer, who was their captain until 2020 and recently made a sensational test debut against New Zealand. Delhi Capitals list includes Rishabh Pant, opener Prithvi Shaw, South African paceman Enric Norke and Akshar Patel. Virat Kohli had given up his RCB captaincy midway last season, but he was still their first choice on the list of retained players. He is joined by Glenn Maxwell and Mohammad Siraj among the only 3 players who've been retained by the franchisee. Inaugural champions Rajasthan Royals have gone in with Sanju Samson, Joss Butler and uncapped Yashasvi Jaiswal. It is learned that Punjab Kings wanted to retain KL Rahul, but according to the rules laid down by the IPL Governing Council, the player would have the last say if he wants to be retained or not. Apparently, KL Rahul is looking for a new franchisee and is expected to join the Lucknow team as the captain. In his absence, Punjab has retained Rahul's opening partner Mayank Agarwal and uncapped fast bowler Arshdeep Singh. Sunrisers Hyderabad have picked 2 uncapped players in Abdul Samad and Umran Malik, both from Jammu, while they have shown their faith in Kane Williamson as their captain. Rashid Khan was in talks with the Hyderabad franchisee to be retained, but the Afghan leg spinner wanted to be the first retained player, which would have fetched him 16 crores. However, that didn't happen. Kolkata Knight Riders have retained 4 players in Andre Russell, Sunil Narine, Venkatesh Iyer and Varun Chakravarti. The 2 new franchisees, Lucknow and Ahmedabad, will now get the opportunity to pick 3 players each before all the teams head to the mega auction, which is expected either in the last week of December or first week of January. Sports Bureau, India Today.